Okay, wanted to make a short video here about problems I had with my Kimber Micro 9 from day one. First time I shot it, had all kind of failure to feeds, nothing but problems. I don't even think I got through a full magazine. Plus, I could not get 7 rounds in the Kimber magazine. My fingers were bleeding trying to get the 7th round in. So between that and the failure of the feeds, and then I had one other issue when I was shooting the gun, the slide would come loose like that. And of course that would cause stovepipes, misfeeds, obviously all kind of problems. I actually had to shoot the gun with my finger under the magazine, supporting the magazine, so I could shoot the gun. Well, that's not going to work. Another thing I noticed was even firing normal 9mm ammo, it seemed like an extremely violent recoil. But it's a light, small pistol, you know, I didn't really think too much of it. And then I put a couple plus P rounds in it. I fired those plus P rounds, and the gun literally felt like it was going to fall apart in my hand. And of course, the magazine would come loose, and I would have to put my finger under it again to get it to fire correctly. So I started doing some research on these things, and these are very common problems. So the first thing I did, the recoil spring in this gun from Kimber is 11.5 pounds. I went on to Galloway Precision Products website, and I ordered a 22-pound recoil spring, and the SKU for that is G as in golf, P as in Papa, dash 4002. That's the SKU for the 22-pound recoil spring for the Micro 9. Cost $15. I ordered that, put that in. Okay, I thought that's definitely going to help soften the recoil and the violence of, you know, a very light gun when you go to shoot it. The other thing we had to fix was the magazine issue. I've had a couple Kimbers. They've all had failure to feed problems. I am not a fan of Kimber magazines, especially these. Get rid of them. What you need to do is go online and buy this magazine. See if I can get it to focus here good for you. This is the magazine for the Sig Sauer P938. It's a 7-round magazine. And it'll fit in this gun perfectly, but you do have to adjust, modify the base plate a little bit. Okay. I hope everybody can see that. These magazines aren't cheap. They're about $45 a piece. But your life's worth a lot more than that. And if you plan on carrying this gun, it is not reliable with the Kimber magazine. Since I've done this to my magazines and switched to the Sig Sauers, last time I fired it, let's see, after I changed the spring, and with the new 6-hour magazines, I fired 19 full magazines without an issue. It ran flawlessly. So this is the 6-hour for the P938, and then we'll modify the base plate. To modify the base plate is actually very simple. This is the 6-hour P938 magazine. This one's already been modified, but I'll show you. All you have to do is stick a screwdriver in this. There's a little opening there, stick a screwdriver in there and kind of pry it open, and it'll slide right off. Okay. Now, like I said, this L1 has already been modified. Okay. Basically, this is too thick. It will not fit into the Kimber Micro 9 until you shave this down a little bit. You don't want to mess with this. Don't even touch the lip. There's no reason to sand this down. It'll fit perfectly. But you do have to shave this down. Basically, all I did was I got my little electric sander and sanded it. Okay? Just kept going back and forth sanding it. And then when I got it basically to the right height, and I'll go over that in a minute, what I had to do to make this a good right angle in this corner is take an X-Acto knife and go ahead and just very carefully just kind of make sure it's at a 90-degree angle, because you can't really get the sander in there. You do not want to keep putting this on the gun and trying it, because you could possibly mess up the little tabs in here that hold it firmly to the magazine. But basically just sand this down. Let me see if I can get a reading on a thickness. It's less than 4/10 of an inch. Anywhere from, I found it, you know, they needed to be anywhere from about 0.35 of an inch to just under 0.4 of an inch thickness at the center. I've also had maybe sand a little bit off the back once I got it to the right thickness, just to make it fit. And then other than cleaning up the 90-degree things here with an X-Acto knife, they work perfect. And then just once you're done with it, go ahead and pop it back on. Pop it on. Slide it into place. And you'll feel it click back into place. It's not going anywhere, okay? Now, you may have to test it a couple times and you know, maybe sand a little bit more off or whatever. But once you get it right, the magazine fits perfect. I've seen guys shave these down with a file. I wouldn't recommend doing that, because you're probably going to get it very uneven. The electric sander actually worked really well. It takes a few minutes, but it's worth it. And since I've done this, like I said, and put the new spring in it, I fired 19 magazines of 7 rounds each in a row without one single failure of any kind. The magazine does not fall out. I don't get stovepipes. I don't get failure to feeds. The gun runs beautifully. They're good guns, but Kimber has notoriously had problems with their guns having feed problems. And in this case, simply putting a heavier recoil spring in, or guide rod spring, and using another gun's magazines, the P938 in the Micro 9, after you modify them, the gun runs like a sewing machine all day long. So I hope this helps somebody. I'm sorry for the terrible video skills, but as you can see, it fits perfect, and now it fires perfect. So that's how to make your Kimber Micro 9 completely reliable. Thank you. Okay, I just wanted to do a quick update. It's been a while since I did my video on the Kimber Micro 9. And I talked about replacing the 11.5 pound guide rod spring with a 22 pound spring. And instead of using the Kimber magazines, I'm using, let's see if I can show you, they're Sig Sauer P938 magazines. And as I showed you in a previous video, how to modify them. But I just wanted to give you an update, because at the time I made that video, I had fired, since I made the spring changes and using the Sig Sauer P938 magazines, excuse me, I had fired 19 consecutive magazines without a hitch, not one single problem. And since then, I fired 20 more additional magazines without a hitch. Now, the 19 and the total of 39 with 0 problems was using 124 grain ammo. Okay, that's important. But that's 39 consecutive magazines of 124 grain ammo. The gun runs flawlessly. Okay, so I had some old 115 grain that I went and shot today. I was kind of curious to how they would do. Okay, just your basic target Winchester 115 grain rounds. And let me see, I shot 18 magazine fulls today. Okay, I did have 2 instances out of the 125 rounds where the gun did not fully finish the cycle of fully putting the bullet into the barrel. Okay, and I just had to simply pull this back a little bit and let it go forward and push the bullet in. But that's using the 115 grain bullet. Now, there's 2 fixes, okay? Only shoot 124 grains and life is wonderful. If for some reason you want to shoot 115 grains, what I would do is probably cut one, I'd do a little bit at a time. I would cut probably 1 full link of the spring off. The 115 grain does not have as much blowback force as the 124 grain, which is why the 124 grain works so good with the heavy spring. So if you're, bound and determined to use 115 grains, I would cut 1 link of that spring off and take it down maybe a pound. You might have to play with it, but that would allow it to fully seat the bullet into the barrel. 2 out of 125 that it did it on, me today. That's not terrible, but if you're going to use this as self-defense, it's got to be 0. Okay, let's face it. So I just wanted to make that distinction that there is a difference when you do these upgrades. The magazines fed both fine. The Sig Sauer P938 magazines, it doesn't care what you put in them, they work great. But that spring, that 22-pound spring is a little heavy in some cases for 115 grains bullets. So I just wanted to make people aware of that. I'm going to use nothing but 124 grain and live a happy life. Thank you.